All right. So thank you all for coming to the meeting. I am principal. Um, I'm the assistant principal of the school at Woodstock. My name is Miss Fields, and I'm going to introduce everybody. Thank you all for coming. We have the counselor, who is Matthew, and then we have Josie, who is the teacher, and we have Abigail, who is the parent, and we have that's it, just all of us. And we're going to get started with this meeting here. So we had this meeting for Jesus due to a behavior issue, along with some studying habits. So go ahead.
All right. So thank you so much for coming, and I'm glad we could have this meeting about Jesus. Um, like the assistant principal mentioned, I am Jesus's counselor here at Woodstock Elementary. I would like to start off by saying that I do think Jesus is a very excuse me, is very respectful and genuine student and little boy. He seems to be very content. But here at the school we do have a couple concerns, mainly with his behavior. Let's see. So Jesus and Mrs. Mrs. Brown and Mrs. Snoopy both have a bit of trouble in their class with Jesus in regards to his behavior. He tends to draw the attention of the teacher away from the entire class as a whole and the other students, and because she has to redirect, or they both actually have to redirect Jesus back to the lesson and to follow along and not to distract other classmates. Let's see.
Okay, I'm going to ask for the teacher to go ahead and explain, let mom know some type of difficulties, a few difficulties that she's having with Jesus, or how he's doing in the class.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Miss Brown. I'm one of Jesus's core teachers. So yeah, as Matt said, some of the behavioral concerns I've had deal with, Jesus just is in constant need of like attention when it comes to like following directions or getting him to, do his work. And that takes a lot of time away from like the rest of my kids in the class. So, and I also spoke to one of Jesus's other core teachers, and she experiences the same thing in her class, which is why we started having him go to the alternative learning center a couple days a week to just, have that extra time to, in a smaller classroom environment to get his work done. So mom, is this something that you notice at home? Does he need a lot of extra attention from you?
Well, he is the youngest, so he does get a lot of attention, but I'm actually surprised to hear that he's having all these issues, because this is the first time I'm hearing complaints like this from school.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
he's been to my office a couple times in the past couple of weeks. He is a bright kid, just like the counselor says. I think we just kind of need to rectify the behavior situations that are going on. He's the disruption in the classroom, but I think it's something that can be dealt with, and it's not too huge of a concern that I don't think, I think we can fix it.
Would it be okay if I interject right here? I would just like to add that in the alternative learning center that he's been going to, he has been showing promising behavior. He hasn't been reported as taking up a lot of the teacher's attention in regard to the other students. He is in a much smaller environment, or there is less students in the environment, I guess. So maybe that could be part of the reason why he feels he doesn't have to compete for attention because there's only 5 students in the room. So I think that has been very helpful for him. Do you notice anything like that at home? Maybe if he's with a larger group of kids or at a family event, if there are more people around, does he tend to act out or maybe ask for things?
Yeah, he is a little attention seeking, so it's not surprising to me that he does better in a smaller classroom environment. That seems pretty true.
Mhm.
Okay, so I would like to add in a couple of Jesus's strengths because I mean we're not just here to talk about all the things that are he's not doing too hot in right now, but we do, or at least I personally have noticed because I went and observed and I spoke with some of his teachers. His behavior does not seem to be as much of a problem as reported by his new math teacher. I understand he's only been in that classroom for about a week, as opposed to his other classrooms where he's been there for 3 weeks. So I don't know if maybe he is maybe just not as comfortable yet with that teacher, and maybe he's a little more comfortable with Miss Brown and Miss Snoopy, and that could be something as well. I'm very interested to see how his behavior plays out even following this meeting, but as he gets more comfortable with that teacher.
So I know that the counselor was saying that he went over some things that he wanted to try a couple things with Jesus. Can you go over that, counselor?
Yeah, of course. Let's see. So with Zeus, I think that we could try a couple of things in the classroom. Um, let's see. So off the top of my head, um, I think that it may benefit Jesus to have a little bit of additional time to turn in his homework without a penalty, because when I was interviewing him and when I was speaking with Jesus, I kind of noticed that some of his work was a little sloppy in his agenda. Work meaning his actual penmanship, and I couldn't read it, so I asked him to read what was written on the page, and he told me he wasn't able to read it. But kind of looking a little further back in his notes and stuff, I saw that he actually does have pretty good handwriting, and everything looked pretty good. So I asked him how come sometimes it comes out this way versus that way, and he said that he just feels like he just doesn't have enough time, so he tries to rush. So that's part of the reason why I think implementing the modification of allowing a little bit of extra time for his work will help him. Same thing with adding a little bit of extra time to complete in-class assignments, maybe than his peers. We might be able to set something up for him like that. Miss Brown, how does that sound like it may play out in your classroom?
Yeah, I mean, I've also noticed that, his quality of work at times can be sloppy and his writing can be, ineligible, or unintelligible, sorry. And I've spoke to him about it and he has mentioned, he feels rushed and like he doesn't have enough time to do things. So I think that would be beneficial to give him, you know, that cushion so he doesn't feel so rushed to finish things.
That sounds
Okay.
good. One thing that I did notice was that some of his work was kind of like not up to standard. I saw that from one of the teachers, so I would like to recommend a SPED assessment. How do you feel about that, counselor?
Yeah, I mean, if his work isn't up to par, if it's not up to grade level standards, um, then I think that a SPED assessment would be a great tool to use, because if there's something going on where maybe he's having a little bit of trouble kind of processing something, or maybe he's getting something mixed around, that could also be a reason that his behavior in some classes is being displayed in this way. Because if for some reason he's having a harder time, he may just get a little frustrated and this is how he kind of acts it out to get away from those unpreferred activities in the classroom. So I think a SPED assessment would be great. So that should probably be something we put on the agenda for the psychologist to get on.
Are you fine with that, Mom?
Yeah, that's fine. Are we gonna try and like how long between the time we try to do these like little modifications before the SPED assessment?
We're gonna actually do that ASAP, the SPED assessment,
Okay.
just to see where he is, as far as, just as far as he is in school, like maybe he is having some type of academic
Yeah.
issue. So we want to just clear that up first. I think that'd be the best thing to do immediately.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so we'll meet back again. And we can discuss that. We'll get everything going. Allow the modifications to happen, and then we'll return. Have another date that's convenient for you, and discuss the progress.
I did have a question. Is there anything I can do at home to help meet these goals?
Counselor?
Yes. So we are. I would definitely recommend setting firm limits. Setting firm, setting firm limits for Jesus in the home, as well as we can in the classroom with Miss Brown and his other teachers. But simply what that may entail is just, okay, once this timer's up, if we're taking a break, or if you're trying to transition him to an unpreferred activity that you need him to do in the home, if you use a timer, make sure he can see the timer to kind of see, okay, when this time is up, playtime's over, we're going to get to work. And it needs to be firm. So even if he starts to cry, or maybe his behavior changes a little bit, I think that it's very, very important for us all to stick to a firm limit or a firm structure with Jesus to kind of help his behavior progress to where it needs to be in the classroom
Okay.
and in the home.
I agree. So yeah, we'll meet at a later date. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending, and we'll talk with you soon. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.